Hey everybody, welcome to Behind the Mirror. I'm your host today, Keith Posehn, CEO of Zorz, that's Z-O-R-Z, and today I have Ashley Parducci, a good friend of mine, and we got a fun show today, everybody. Welcome. So, Ashley, great to have you here. Oh my goodness, we've been working together off and on since 2016?
Yeah,
way back. I was at Uber. Yeah, I was at Uber. You were at Impact, and boy, we've covered like anything and everything attribution. So today, I think that's a great place to start. Oh man, where do we start here? I mean, you talk about how we're using Uber's attribution that was pushed to Impact that often we broke and everything like came down. We had to fix that. And we did. I mean, you were amazing with that. But you've had so many lessons in like attribution. I'd love to just start with kind of with you. Like, what are some of those core foundational lessons maybe that like both ones that we learned together as we were working together, but also since then, because you went from Impact, you were there for quite some time. You're at TV Scientific, which has just grown immensely. And now you're figuring your next thing. So I'd love to know what's some of those core foundational lessons. Maybe start there.
Sure. So first of all, excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, glad to have
nice
you.
to connect. And I can talk attribution all day long. Where do we start? So you're right.
Mm-hmm.
We started when you were at Uber, working through all of those attribution pieces. And I think when I reflect on the last 20 years of being in the attribution space at different softwares, different companies, what it comes down to is your client always has an attribution methodology, right? And the software you're working at always has their own attribution methodology. So really it's an art and a science of understanding both as much as you possibly can, and understanding the limitations on both sides, because there always will be limitations. I think there's also an education piece that you will always have to have with clients, depending on which side you're on, right? As the brand, when you were at Uber, you're educating us on what you're doing. We're educating you as the software on how we work. And then it's really just that meeting of minds. And I've continued to see that throughout my career, you know, with all the clients at Impact. And then the last 4 years in this new space of, standing up television as a performance channel. That's a whole other can of worms when it comes to attribution, and has had me reflecting so often on my experience of web attribution, which you and I have seen the highs and lows of, right? There's been, the Safari changes that Chrome's going to kill the cookie. I think we've even seen like the shift of, oh, you should use Firefox. Let's use Mozilla now we're all in Chrome. So let's do that. And that all has an impact on attribution on both sides. And so when I think about lessons, it's understanding how technology works on both sides, but then also making sure the marketer understands the value of the channel that we're talking about when it comes to attribution, because that's going to have an effect on it. I think we left the last click world, I know, a very long time ago when I was at Impact, and last click is not a word you want to use when we're talking about TV. So
yes.
Yeah.
And I think you're right, like too, like the narrative aspect of it. I mean, we've both had to deal with this where it's helping like stakeholders internally understand, it's not just about a last click. It's not just about even like multi-touch. I found often multi-touch is very superficial, very, very much not based in fact, or makes so many assumptions. It's kind of shocking. Yeah. And so it's really about helping that narrative of understanding, or helping drive that narrative that helps stakeholders understand like where the value is really coming from. Like TV, for example, we can prove a lot. Like when we've run stuff with you when you're at TV Scientific, knowing that we could see a number of things. So like our partners at Impact, what's running up here, performance, we could see a lot happening there, but knowing that was really only a slice of the picture that gave us enough confidence to continue to expand, but there's still like more to it, right?
Absolutely. There's so much more to it than what that click path tells us or
Mm-hmm.
what that impression in click path tells us. And where I like to start relating it to is just your experience as a consumer. So I always go back to that experience as a consumer.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking about television, it's okay. I'm sitting in my living room, or I'm there cooking dinner, and I've got my favorite show on, and this ad pops up, right? And you see the ad, you hear the brand, the branding aspect of something like TV is so important, the audio, but you don't go click on the TV, and you can't path my journey together by me picking up my phone later that night when I remember, oh yeah, I wanted to look at that. I wanted to look at that
Mm-hmm.
brand, or now I've said the brand and it's popping up on my social media and I'm being targeted now. And now retargeting is picking me up as a consumer. So this thought that a 7-day attribution window looking at a click path is exactly what happened. It's not. My friend might have mentioned the brand to me. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
I just got these shoes. I love them. You need to get them. They're so great for walking. Then I see the commercial. Then I go here. Then I go there. So I really like to take it back to what that consumer experience looks like,
Mm-hmm.
and then we work through what should this attribution model look like, and what are we missing, because that what are we missing piece is sometimes the most crucial part, and
Mm-hmm.
is really what causes people to say, I'm not gonna run this channel anymore. It's too hard for me to figure out what I'm missing. But that might be an entirely incremental user base that I haven't touched yet, and I just said no.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. It's too hard. We need it to look exactly like this. So
Mm-hmm. No,
yeah,
it's a good point. I mean, I found that it's often like, I call it a concept tyranny of the familiar, where people will underestimate the risk of what they know and overestimate the risk of what they don't. And to your point, like an incremental audience that they could acquire through some of these channels, it's like, well, it's like the age-old question. Like often, like affiliate gets put into like a bottom of funnel type of
yeah,
mindset. Oh, it's promo codes. Oh, it's just discounts. It's like, no, actually, it's not. That's a single component of it that may be useful to you. But even then, certain types of those partners actually can have huge applicability at any different stage of the customer lifecycle. Because to your point, what's that journey? You can use a partner like Rakuten to target churned customers by working with them to to audience match and test that,
yeah.
and do a split test to find out, oh, did we reacquire churned customers? Like, these are all things you can do. And so I think that's one thing. It's often, and you've seen the same thing, right? Where it's a narrow viewpoint of the impact of these channels and many channels as a whole. And so that narrowness of viewpoint, I think, often holds organizations back.
Absolutely. You can take it a step further, and that
Mm-hmm.
narrow viewpoint might be something that's applied at a third party attribution technology, right? Like if
Oh
we start to
yeah,
go down the mobile path, the app path, the gaming path, I'm relying on exactly what the MMP said, right? And
yeah.
that's technology has been around for a long time. So if I'm only looking at that, and we haven't evolved into where we are today, that is,
Mm-hmm.
it's a different world when we talk about what those signals look like, and needing to, like, we have to get bigger in terms of putting the signals together. Like
Mm-hmm.
that graph here might not be enough for me to put the pieces together that this is the same user.
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, so the narrow view on attribution, which I get it, it can be hard to want to tackle that,
Yeah.
or the person above me might not want me to tackle that, but you
Yeah.
miss out.
It's funny because I agree with like all of this here, and I think there's two points I think are interesting. Your point, like relying on the narrow, the potential narrow viewpoint of a third party measurement partner. Like we have to trust that they are up to date, that they're looking for all the methods by which to attribute and to really gauge success. But then also, it's like, I think that, there's tech debt. There's all the tech debt that
Oh
piles up in a
yeah.
company that doesn't address things. I think there's measurement debt too. And it's the sense that, are you actually really staying up to date with the tools you have, assessing what you're using to look at it and say, is this actually getting me the data that I really truly need? And are you from there applying it properly? I think that to your point, too, like I think that a third party partner is one source of information. Your internal data is another source of information, but I think the source of truth is maybe more fuzzy in the sense that like had clients that have their own internal analytics. I'm like, oh, this is lovely, but they're capturing maybe 30% of the picture. I'm like, well, that's not a source of truth. That's just a leading indicator here. And the ability to look at these things holistically and try to understand what your cumulative impact is, I think is critical.
Measurement debt. I love that phrase. I'm going to use it from here on out.
There we go. Measurement debt. Because that's the thing is people don't stay up to date. I did this at a B2B SaaS company that was really interesting. Using video, we drove a huge amount of pipeline, which worked beautifully. Like we really nailed the message. And one of the reasons I've loved working with TV Scientific is because you can just drive that message home super, super targeted. But I managed to convince them to not look at clicks as a metric for success because we knew who we were targeting. We were able to target down to the target account and go, cool. If our target accounts are going from just a target into a prospect, into an active lead, that's success. Like when do you need a click? And so, but then they ask, how do you optimize? I'm like, well, make sure people watch the video. Go for reviews, make sure people don't skip it. Any thoughts on that? Because you've been dealing with videos so much.
I mean, first of all, clicks and videos just from my perspective, that is not a KPI that you should be measuring against. You're right. How long did they watch the video? When we talk about optimizing, a lot of the time it comes to the content of the video. So you and I were talking a little bit before this, are we thinking about audio? Are you A/B testing the videos? Are you looking at, I mean, you can go back to something like a spike, right? Did I see views go up at this time? Or, you can use technologies that aggregate that. So you can see, okay, post video, I definitely see this correlation of somebody going to my site separately. But as a user, as a consumer, I should say, thinking back on what my consumer path is, if I just look at my own behavior, am I clicking on a video after I watch it? No. No. You're staying in that native experience of watching and then watching the next. So
yeah. And I think it's interesting, maybe the differences in channels. Like Google search was bidding on intent in a moment. What did someone search for? What was the meaning of that search to them? What do they intend with it? Facebook really cued in on bidding on a person's interests, what matters to them in a sense. Affiliate is all about capturing capturing trust. Bidding on the trust that a third party has with their audience and leveraging that to build trust in your brand. I think that there's a truth in video that's maybe in between, that you're leveraging trust in some ways, but you're also really, you're bidding on a moment you're bidding on a person's attention and their willingness to internalize the message, take the message in and then to act on it. And so I think that to your point, like creative gets so critical, because if you can get a message across in a way that people believe in that and that they understand it, you show the value that you have, they'll internalize that value. And then if you're good at that, that they'll act on it. You can be confident that the action will come from it.
Exactly. And when you think about video, it's not necessarily their last step in the funnel, right? It might be that, it might be introducing them to the brand. It might take multiple views throughout that journey and different interactions along that path where your other marketing channels are coming in. But when you think about what was the value of video, it exposed this person 3 weeks ago and it actually got them to my site. And then that person now is caught up in my retargeting motion. They put their phone number in to get text alerts from me. If I'm just looking at this short attribution path and this web attribution path, I'm never even thinking about what the actual value of it was. Or did video come in at the end with an offer on video, right? That can happen also. It's not just about a promo code in the search. Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, I think it's interesting too. It's like watching the organizations that I see succeed or truly like change things, are able to take that more holistic view and
Hmm.
look at channels as a whole and go to your point, like we're really trying to understand the effect of these things on the customer's journey and looking for the indicators that show us maybe not 100% coverage of it and say, oh,
Yeah.
100% of people I know what they saw, but like it's enough to be stat sig, enough to say like,
Yeah.
okay, when we run this, we notice this effect. And when we keep investing, we notice that effect seems to compound. That gives us confidence that
Yeah.
this will work. And it can get you to a point where you can start to really nail down the finer incremental return on it. But
Yeah.
I think that trying to do that too early also becomes an issue because like some organizations will say, well, we can't do it unless we know for sure. I'm like, well, don't you take risks on anything? Isn't there a
Yeah.
risk you'll take at some point, right? I mean, they have to be willing to take risks, right?
All right. You have to be willing to take risks. My favorite
Mm-hmm.
is, I only want to target these people on
Mm.
video. But if you're talking about TV, to actually target that person that is between 18 and 30 years old and interested in Yeti cups that are and likes the color
No,
pink,
Stanley.
it's
Stanley
just
cups in orange. I'm just going.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not incremental.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're willing to take that risk and give
Mm-hmm.
the time, and especially if you have a mature program, right? If you have a
Yeah.
mature program and you've been working with these partners and we're just kind of here and we're ready for growth, what does that risk look like? And
Mm-hmm.
attribution debt, attribution risk
Mm-hmm.
is, you also have to be willing to do that and say, okay, like let's see how we might approach this differently and pull in the right resources.
Mm-hmm.
There's resources on the tech side, put them together with your data resources, and see who else you can pull in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Customers that are working with you guys have a lot of experience
Mm-hmm.
in that world and can be just this trusted kind of neutral voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, appreciate that. I think like so from there, how would you best set up, people for success with this? Like when we think of the recommendations, I know how I've gone with it, but I'm curious, like when you think of how to set up someone for success to make this argument with stakeholders to help arm themselves to go in there and say, hey, video is important, affiliate is important, all these channels are
Mhm.
important. Here's how we do that. Well, like what are some of your thoughts about how to really like lay the groundwork for them?
Yeah, I think first of all, you have to collect every signal that you can.
Mm-hmm.
So don't just walk in and say, I'm only going to send the signal to the third party, whether it's Impact or TV Scientific
Mm-hmm.
or any marketing software that you're working with. I'm only going to send the signal when I think it's attributed. Well, that means you're missing out on this whole picture of
Mm-hmm.
data, right? So that's number one. Make sure it's set up in a way where you are able to collect as many points as possible. That ends up being one of the biggest like storytelling pieces that you
Mm-hmm.
can get. Don't think you have to stay in this box you've been in as well. So
Mm-hmm.
how can I start this with without saying no to what the recommendations are that are being given
Mm-hmm.
to me, right? Because it's often the people on the other side at the software company that they've watched these lessons happen, so they are able
Mm-hmm.
to be the advisor in that piece, and understand like how the technology can work for you and what signals it can send to you, because I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times the third party is probably more willing to work with you and help you work through the data than you might think, right? Like get the
Mm-hmm.
get the data science teams together, get both tech sides on the phone. I know it's hard to get resources
Yeah.
always, right? But when you think about when you think about the value that can be left by not just left on the floor, right? By not taking those risks to get to incrementality, you end up cost saving in the long run because that's where your growth happens.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like, I think that it's for organizations, we talked about, we can coin the term measurement debt today. I think that there's such it's easy to stay comfortable, to not really try and look outside of the measurement box. And that's, I think, it's a challenge because it's easy to say, well, this is the way we've done it, but that doesn't really capture everything. And right now, as we see like a market, right now in June of 2025, we see a market here where things are hard. Budgets are getting hit in different places. We have uncertainty in the broader market, and we have a lot of pushback from investors and boards, to companies saying, hey, conserve costs, cut here, cut there, make sure you're doing it right. I think it's interesting where it's an easy time to be risk averse, but the ones who really succeed in times like these are the ones who are willing to be aggressive, to be greedy when others are fearful. Instead of falling with the pack, be in there, lean in when others pull back. I think that's such a really interesting opportunity right now. Yes. I think it's like for us, like pushing our clients, like, hey, look, don't think of this in the old way because you're capturing a little teeny slice of the context. How do you maximize your context in that? So from there, I'd say, like, what are some of like the takeaways, like successes that you've seen, or the ways that organizations have succeeded at this that you think have been really important lessons?
Mm-hmm. I said it before, like have an open mind. Listen to what the experts are saying about it. Like take into account what your incrementality potential is, whatever channel you're looking at, right? If we're talking affiliate, if we're talking video, if we're talking something else, like, is there a piece of the pie that you haven't touched? Do you believe that you have users out there that do you have potential consumers that don't exist, or that you haven't been exposed to yet, I should say. Like also use those experts to help you tell the story so that you can surface the right insights internally and you can help get your team bought in, because I know that's one of the hardest points, right? And just because you said this earlier, but just because you have been doing something a very specific way, doesn't mean that is how the marketing ecosystem is going to evolve. I think we've moved past that at this point. So you always be learning.
Yeah. I think the other note too, I'd say maybe, and I mentioned this in a previous episode with my team, but I think for everyone today too, and I think you'll agree as well, is look at the channels in the right way too. Like affiliate, you can't lump affiliate all as one channel. It's not. It's a bunch of different things rolled up into one. It's a huge distributed sales and advocacy team all rolled in one. Search is non-brand and brand, and you can split non-brand out into other things. You can go to competitor terms. You can go to different types of non-brand. You can say narrow non-brand, broad non-brand. There's so many other things. Facebook is not just one channel. Meta, it's like retargeting, it's prospecting, it's video. I think that's the other thing too, is there's a tendency to look at these channels too narrowly or to consolidate them too much. And that also belies the deeper meaning or the deeper insights in the data that I think we miss if we don't look at it for what they are.
Absolutely. I think about how a channel is influencing another channel, right? How is video influencing search? Like, is video having that impact on branded search terms, even though I'm not seeing these clicks and views that are looking great in my path, but let's look at those metrics. Let's look at what your site visit rate looks like. Has it gone up? Has your path to purchase time, has your conversion rate changed? They're all so intertwined, and I wholly agree that affiliate is so many channels in one, and they all play such an important part. Like we talk about the introducer, the closer, who's keeping them engaged through that time, and you're not paying that salesperson to be on your team every day, right? You're only paying when you actually get the sale. So in times like these, you also need to remember that about the affiliate channel.
Indeed, I agree. I think it's one where, we've noticed some random ones where like running video hard, and it didn't make a huge spike in like brand search, both on paid and organic, but it bumped up time on site. It cratered bounce rate, and people stayed on the homepage so much longer, and that carried through to sessions to average time on site and conversion rate moved. So we only saw like a 15% bump in brand search, but we saw a 45% jump in activity on the site, and conversion rate went up by 65%. So I think at the time it went from like basically like 1% and change to like 1.7%. It was amazing. And that was just from video. Yeah. But so it didn't like move the volume needle, but boy, it moved the effectiveness because it was super targeted too. It wasn't getting new people. It just was getting them in the door and getting them to understand the product better.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we see these insights, but those would have been lost if we didn't look at it in this way.
Well, I know better than anybody that you're great at looking at all of the data. So I'm preaching to the choir here.
Hey, I've learned so much from you, Ashley. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining today. Hopefully get you on the show again soon. Everybody, again, thank you, Ashley. She's a fantastic professional in this space who I've been blessed to work with a number of times. Everybody, thank you for listening to it. Thank you for listening today. Have a wonderful week, and we'll catch you next week on Behind the Mirror. Again, I'm the CEO of Zorz, Zorz, Keith Posehn. We are a fractional leadership firm that does consulting for customer referral programs, marketing, AI, and affiliate. Give us a call or hit us up anytime, hello@zorz.com, and we will happily sit down with you to figure out how we can help. We've worked with a number of amazing clients, and we would love to do the same for you. Thank you again, Ashley.
Thank you.